12 rounds, ding ding, sick and tired of the...
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to SCMP Martial Arts post-fight podcast. I have got Chris Edwards-Bailey on my left. How you doing, Chris?
I'm absolutely fantastic.
Good. And as always, we got Sasha Palatnikov, the AFC middleweight champion from Hong Kong. How's it going, mate?
Doing great, brother.
Cool. Yeah, it's time to talk about UFC because there is a huge show coming up this weekend. UFC 244, Nate Diaz against Jorge Masvidal for the BMF title. But I think before we even get into that amazing card, we got to talk about what happened over the weekend because, oh my days, Chris. Sasha, we nearly had this fight cancelled. Nate Diaz tested positive for elevated levels of a banned substance, SARMs, and USADA informed him, and Nate put out an angry statement on Twitter saying F everybody, and he wasn't even going to fight. It seems to get worked out, but behind the scenes a day later USADA cleared Nate to fight, and it's back on. So Chris, your take on the whole situation. What was your first reaction when you saw the news?
Massive disappointment. It's a fight I've been waiting for ages, and it's one of them where if Nate Diaz pulls out, Masvidal doesn't have someone to fight. Is the pay-per-view still? But is the pay-per-view still really viable with Leon Edwards versus Masvidal?
No.
I mean, most pay-per-views nowadays have a title fight, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. So it makes you think how the event could really go ahead. Just talks of Leon Edwards as a backup.
Yeah.
I mean, there's loads of potential matchups out there, but I think this is the one we all really want to see.
It was. What was your take, Sasha?
Oh no, I mean, when I first saw it, I was like very disappointed and shocked, but at the same time, it was weird because someone like Nate, who is a well-known vegan and is known to not take performance-enhancing stuff, usually, or claims a lot that he doesn't. So for that to come out, I thought it was a bit strange, but after reading up on it and finding out what it was, and nowadays with supplements, a lot of fighters are taking supplements from companies that are mixing with other brands, with other substances, and unfortunately that's making them test hot, and it's really a bad issue for fighters, unfortunately, with USADA, who may be clean but are also being labeled as cheaters. So it's unfortunate, but also at the same time fortunate that the fight is going to happen. We are excited for this fight. Obviously, anytime we see two guys of this caliber fight, everyone's going to want to tune in. So I think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to answer a lot of questions, and I think a lot of opportunities will come from this fight in itself. So I'm just glad everything is clear.
We're surprised how quickly Nate was exonerated by USADA. We've seen guys, what's a penny for filthy Tom Lawler's thoughts right now. He served a full 2-year suspension for testing for Osterine, similarly low levels, and then just got cut.
Yeah.
Now he's pretty much switched to pro wrestling, I think.
I can go ask him, actually. I'm going to be in Vegas next week.
Oh yeah. Please do.
Yeah. But
love filthy Tom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure he's not happy about it, but again, when you're someone like Nate Diaz, star power, I mean, look what happened to John Jones. They completely changed the state to make an event happen to him to fight, right? Yeah. So
it seems like it's these big guys get preferential treatment. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, we don't know what the exact findings are. We just know the testing procedure and protocol that USADA have are literally, like, it seems like if you even smell LGD or any SARM, you can test positive. So I don't know to what scientific measure that they are using, but if they're saying that it's not enough for it to be even a level that is considered performance enhancing, then I'm fine with it. Nate Diaz has never been a guy that I was worried that he's taking something or he's too good or this, that. Nate's just a hard worker, he's a grinder, and just let the guy fight. You know what I mean?
Few people said similar. Ronda Rousey came out and tweeted to defend Nate. Nate said he was happy to sit out for a couple of months if there was this thing in his system, and then just do it then. But Chris, what do you think? Would Till v Gastelum have sufficed as a main event in the Garden?
I don't think it would have. No, I don't think it would have kept a lot of the hardcore fans, and I don't think it's going to have the big pull to bring in casual viewers. Because you have to remember, Nate Diaz does draw. He draws big crowds, he draws casual viewers, especially after those 2 Conor fights, I mean, his war of words with Conor is probably the best war of words we've had in sport so far.
Sure. And, well, the fight is on, so let's break down the card. We will start at the top, I presume, then. Let's go. Guys, what's your take? Who's going to win this one, Chris, Nate, or George?
I think George.
How's it going to happen?
I think he's going to win a unanimous decision. I don't think it's going to be the battle that we all think it's going to be. I think it's going to be far more tactical.
Could be a letdown or still entertaining?
I think it'll still be entertaining, yeah. But I don't think we're going to see them go out there and really go for it. I think they're both much more intelligent fighters than people give them credit for. And I think we'll see two people at the top of the game doing their craft the way it should be done.
I can see it going two ways. I can see George being the bigger, stronger fighter, more athletic, using his striking maybe a little bit better, and his wrestling. I think he's a little bit more well-rounded in terms of that. But with anything with Nate, Nate's of course got an incredible cardio gas tank, and he's not someone that's easy to finish. So unless George finishes him with something spectacular, we're looking at a 5-round fight, right? So all it takes is maybe a sloppy shot, a single leg takedown, something like that, and Nate could just grab him on the neck, and anything could happen. But if I was betting, I'd put my money on George. I'm going with the bigger guy with more history with bigger fighters. He's even fought a heavyweight, so physically he's stronger. It'll be good. I actually want to see how the boxing plays out. George is a good boxer. Nate's also a very good boxer. So I'm sure it'll start out a little bit of boxing, but if George wants to be smart, he needs to mix things up. Put in some wrestling, put in some of the stuff he's been working on at ATT, and I think it's going to be an exciting fight for sure. Absolutely.
Well, it's pretty rare, first of all, to have a non-title fight headlining a numbered UFC pay-per-view, first of all. But when you've got two guys who have double-digit loss counts in their overall record, does that matter? Is it all about, is this gimmick strong enough to sell this one?
They've always fought at the top. They're on pretty good runs. You have to think, if George wins this, he's probably one fight, or he could be looking at the title.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why I think George is going to win, because I think he's far more motivated because he's closer to a title. My thing with Nate is, I think he's a fantastic fighter, but I don't think he really cares about the belt. I think he wants just those big fights. He is still that, yeah.
And he can bounce back from a loss fairly easily, can't he?
And he's still always got that Conor fight, the trilogy fight lined up. So,
but for George, this is his moment. It's now or never. He's 34. I think he says his whole career has been building to this moment. How have you been surprised by his meteoric rise this year, Sasha? Let's say a year ago, would you have thought this would happen?
I mean, the thing is I've always thought George is a great fighter. He just always kind of seems to be on the wrong ends of decisions, some split decisions, that like the fight against Al Iaquinta, like that was a fight that he won unanimously but somehow lost in a split. It was weird judging. So a couple of those kind of things put him on the side thinking like, what's going on? And then he got an opportunity to go and do a reality show. So he was away for a whole year from fighting because he was doing this Latin America reality show. It was like a fitness show. So he was in like phenomenal shape because of it, and I think the time being away from the sport, but as well as being in incredible shape, motivated him coming back. He's like, look, I want to fight, I need to get back in there. And then this year, and we've seen what he's been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time. I mean, the guy's, like we said, he's got almost 50 fights. He's been in the game for such a long time, so he knows how to fight. He just needed to be in the correct mindset, and he needed to physically be where he needed to be. But he's a fantastic fighter. Like, it doesn't matter about the 13 losses. It matters about what he's been doing now. And when he goes in there, I feel like he's going to get the result against Nate. He might even do something just as spectacular as he did against Ben. We don't know.
3 seconds, maybe.
Maybe break his own record. We don't know. But we'll see. It'll be exciting. Regardless.
Well, The Rock will be there as well to present the belt. Happy with that?
I mean, it's a good gimmick. Yeah. The Rock's the man. Everybody likes The Rock, right? So why not?
Well, co-main event, middleweight debut for Darren Till against Kelvin Gastelum. That is a huge fight to take. It's your first in the division, right, Chris?
Yeah, definitely. But it shows Darren Till is not afraid of anyone. He's
Scouser like yourself.
Yeah, he is a top Scouser, so I'm going to back my man.
Yeah.
He looks bigger than he's ever looked. He looks huge.
He's jacked, yeah.
He's still bigger than Gastelum. He's tall. He's got the longer reach. Gastelum does like to go out there and strike. Till striking is good. They do say sometimes if you go up a weight, you can be less chinny, which could go well for Till.
Yeah. And Gastelum hits hard.
Yeah.
Gastelum does hit hard,
He
yeah.
had Izzy in a bit of trouble in that fight.
It all depends what Gastelum tries to do. If Gastelum wants to stand there, I think Till's going to have a major advantage, but it all depends if he wants to take it down to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see it going differently?
Oh, I mean,
Sasha?
Kelvin's obviously the smaller fighter. I think Kelvin's got a better gas tank. He's got better. I think he's got better boxing in terms of being in the pocket in that Mexican style. But Darren, in my opinion, is overall he's a better striker. He's a better Muay Thai fighter, bigger guy, longer, stronger. But I think that question will be if Kelvin gets on his legs. But again, the same was with Izzy, and Kelvin just wants to stand and bang with people, I feel like. So I feel like I'm going to say Darren Till by knockout, coming off of 2 big losses. He really needs to win this fight, and if he does win this fight, he's right in there. Like, we're talking, he could be fighting Israel next potentially, especially if it's a big result against Kelvin. But yeah, I'd like to see Darren get it done. I think he will. I'm gonna go with the bigger, stronger, just like I did with George. It could be completely wrong, but I really feel it's Darren's time. He's woken up, I hope, from those 2 losses, and we'll get the result against Kelvin.
Okay, next up, well, before that will be Stephen Wonderboy Thompson against Vicente Luque. Chris, thoughts on this one?
This is always a really hard one to call because generally throughout my whole history of watching Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, I generally go against him and he always finds a way to surprise me. So I think I'm going to back him this time. I just think that awkward sideways stance, his ability to read distance, I think probably a win on points.
Sasha?
Yeah, I personally know Vicente. I trained with him before. He's a beast. Wonder Boy, yeah, he's one of those guys like you just mentioned. He's a point fighter. He seems to know exactly what he needs to do to get the win. I mean, this is a tough fight. I think this is a very tough fight because Vicente's got serious power. He can put literally anyone's lights out. If you look at his most recent run, his fight against Mike Perry, like he's got some serious hands, and
Mike Perry's nose tells the story.
Exactly. And Stephen Thompson is a phenomenal striker, but surely now by this he's got to have some doubts. And the knockout of Pettis I thought was so devastating.
Yeah, because he was on a roll again, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he's a guy that's been unlucky with the title fights. So this one is like a must-win for Thompson if he still wants to be back in the title picture. But someone like Vicente, I think he's got the momentum, and he's another one who's kind of been like, I think he's waiting to get that Brazilian representation of like he's a top 10 guy. Let's rep him, So I'm gonna go with Vicente because I know him, I met him, I train with him.
Cool.
But I'm also super excited for this fight as well.
Yeah, it doesn't stop there. We've got heavyweight action. Derek Lewis against Blagoy Ivanov. Oh, which way do you see that going, Sasha?
That literally, I have that literally going maybe like the Francis Ngannou Derek Lewis fight. It's exciting because it's a heavyweight fight, but it could literally end up being like no action fight. You just never know with Derek Lewis. You really don't. I mean, I like him. I think he's hilarious. Blagoy will come out and it will stick to his game plan, but I'm going to say Blagoy. I think Blagoy will probably go for the takedown, go on top. He's got the Sambo experience. I honestly don't think this will be an exciting fight.
Yeah.
I really don't feel like. I think, honestly, the Gregor Gillespie, Kevin Lee, that one for me is low-key one of the best fights, I think, on the card.
Yeah. Kevin Lee, back lightweight. How do you see that one, Chris?
I think Gregor Gillespie's got it. I think all-round skill set. But we don't know. This is a new Kevin Lee. He's now with Danaher. He's now working with Faraz, I think, at TriStar. He's been travelling the country looking for different fighters and different coaches to train with. So you never know. A change of drink can change a fighter's whole trajectory.
Yeah, and then even the preliminary card's got some bangers. We've got light heavyweight fight, Corey Anderson v Johnny Walker, a fight which could have title shot implications. Sasha, you think?
Yeah, I'm surprised it's even a prelim card.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that one too. Yeah. Corey Anderson, Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker coming off a big injury, a shoulder injury, shoulder surgery. Year off. I think he's still good. I think he's still got everything, motivation, focus, determination to get the result. Corey Anderson's just trying to talk himself, I guess, to make the fight a little bit more hype. But honestly, I'm going to go Johnny Walker 10 times out of 10. He's going to get the result.
And any others you want to look out for? Or
Just to add, I think Johnny Walker's going to walk for him, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I think so
Sorry,
too.
Chris, I should have come to
No
you there.
problem.
I'm
But
so
just a
rude
big
of
Johnny
me.
Walker fan.
There's another guy that stands out, Edmund Shabazian.
Brad Tavares, middleweight fight.
Yeah, that will be an exciting fight. Edmund is a very, very well-rounded fighter. I watched him on the Contender Series. He's actually, I believe he's from the same gym as Ronda Rousey's boxing coach.
Edward Tyvarian?
Yes, Tyvarian, that gym. That I think
Head
he's
movement.
he's got very good boxing, but he's also got very good grappling. He's like very polished. So this fight against Brad Tavares will be interesting because Brad is a bit wild, strong, tough guy. He's with Ray Sefo in Vegas, but I think this guy is going to surgically dissect Brad quite quickly, and you'll start to see this name with a number quite soon. I think.
It should be good card. Make sure you watch the prelims. You're going to miss some good fights. Anyway, thank you for joining us. As always, please do subscribe to SCMP Martial Arts and hit that like button on the video. Leave us a comment down below. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next time. For Chris and for Sasha, I'm Nick Akin. Cheers.
12 rounds, ding ding. Sick and tired of the whole damn thing, yeah. Stick a move in the ring. You can hit me with the words you fling.